Fishing on the Coosa River is a favorite pastime of people of all ages, yet not many people are aware of the state-issued fish consumption advisories. This video will educate you on what the advisories mean, the contaminant, and the health impacts of consuming fish under fish consumption advisories. What is a fish consumption advisory? A fish consumption advisory is a health advisory issued by the Alabama Department of Public Health, developed to inform people who eat fish from Alabama which species of fish in which water bodies may present an elevated health hazard. It's important to remember that if a water body or fish species is not listed, that does not mean that fish is necessarily safe to eat. It may mean that the water body has not been sampled, there isn't enough data, or it's a privately owned lake. While these consumption advisories do not directly impact your ability to fish, they do affect how much fish you should eat. Although we love a good fish fry, it's important to remember that the fish that we're consuming have spent their entire lives swimming in a polluted environment. Fish caught from polluted waterways may be contaminated with heavy metals and man-made compounds that are dangerous to our health. Eating fish containing pollutants may cause birth defects, liver damage, cancer, and other serious health problems over time. Along the Coosa River, there are currently fish consumption advisories issued because of the contaminants polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, and methylmercury. Contaminants get into the water from stormwater runoff, permitted industrial and municipal waste, non-point source pollution, agricultural runoff, and many other sources. From there, they move up the food chain to fish and eventually find their way to us. Just like in our bodies, contaminants collect over time in fish tissue. It is important to note that larger, older fish collect contaminants for longer time periods and may have higher concentration of contaminants. What contaminants are found in fish tissue on the Coosa? Polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs. PCBs are chemicals that were created for industrial use and later outlawed in 1979. They do not break down in nature, so we are still dealing with their toxic legacy today. PCBs can interfere with your hormones, cause skin conditions like chloracne, and lead to developmental issues in offspring. Because PCBs build up in fish's fatty tissues, you can significantly reduce your exposure by filleting and cooking your fish in a way that removes fat. Did you know that Anniston was the first place in the country where PCBs were commercially manufactured? That's why there are do not eat any advisories on Choccolocco Creek and fish consumption advisories on Logan Martin Lake and Lay Lake. Methylmercury. Methylmercury is an organic form of mercury frequently produced by coal-fired power plants that tend to stick around in nature and in our bodies. We are able to absorb it pretty easily, but our bodies get rid of methylmercury very slowly, which allows it to build up over time. Long-term effects of methylmercury include kidney problems, central nervous system issues, and decreased intelligence. Unfortunately, you cannot reduce your methylmercury exposure by altering your cooking or preparation, just by reducing how much you eat. How can you reduce your exposure to these contaminants? The Alabama Department of Public Health issues these consumption advisories using a recommended portion size of 8 ounces of raw fish or 6 ounces of cooked fish. For example, on Logan Martin Lake, there is an advisory for 1 meal a month for blue catfish, which means that a 150-pound adult should only eat 6 ounces of blue catfish once a month to avoid unhealthy amounts of contaminants. We know that deep frying fish is a traditional southern way to eat your catch, but did you know that you may be exposing yourself to more contaminants by cooking it that way? The way you prepare and cook your catch matters. Of the 2 known contaminants in the Coosa River, PCBs and methylmercury, you can significantly reduce your exposure to PCBs by paying attention to your preparation and cooking methods. Unfortunately, the only way to reduce your exposure to methylmercury is just by reducing the amount of fish you consume. Here are some helpful tips to reducing your exposure to PCBs. PCBs gather and concentrate in the fatty tissues of fish as they swim in polluted waters throughout their life. In general, you want to remove as much fatty tissues as possible and discard any drippings that come from cooking PCB-contaminated fish. 1. Rinse your fish and fillets under cool, running water if possible. If not, use a clean bowl of water to rinse your fish and fillets, changing the water frequently. Fillet your fish by removing the skin, belly fat, guts, and back fat. Discard these tissues and avoid feeding them to pets. Once you have cut your fillets out, rinse them again under cool running water to further dislodge PCBs from the fish. Optimal cooking methods for fish that are contaminated with PCBs are ways that will draw fat away from the fish, which conveniently are also the healthiest cooking methods. Broil, grill, or bake your fish on a rack that allows fat to leave the fish and discard droppings. If you deep fry your fish, and we can't convince you otherwise, discard your cooking oil after one use to avoid bathing anything else you fry in leftover PCBs. So, what is Coosa Riverkeeper doing to address these issues? We host a statewide hotline that has an extension for every major river system in Alabama, with each extension having advisories available in English and Spanish. To hear your local fish consumption advisories, call 844-219-7475. Our team posts fish consumption advisory signage at public boat ramps to ensure folks who hit the water see this vital public health information before they drop their lines. We create resources like our popular game fish guide, recipe videos, and our interactive map that makes it easy to figure out where to get lunch, fuel, and ramps in your neck of the woods. Our team hosts free fishing clinics for kids. Our goal is to inspire and educate kids about fish identification, casting technique, lures, how to safely eat fish from the Coosa and its lakes, and more. Each child would also learn about conservation while discovering fishing, a new life skill that can literally put dinner on the table if you heed the fish consumption advisories. We conduct creel or angler surveys to better understand the demographics, target species, economic impact, and understanding of fish consumption advisories so we can continue to develop resources so families are not fishing for answers when it comes to understanding their local fish consumption advisories. We want folks to be on the water fishing, but we want them to be informed about the state-issued fish consumption advisories that can cause long-term health problems.